Right, and welcome to International Joint Conference of Hospitality and Tourism 2021, or short form IJCHT-21. Okay, this is a parallel presentation session for day 2 on the 14th of September, and this is the morning session for room number 8. And the presentation session should run from 9:30 until 12:30 noon. Okay, and the topic of focus will be tourism in the era of Industrial Revolution 4.0. A little bit about myself, because I have been elected as the chairperson for this particular session. Okay, my name is Saiful Bari bin Muhammad Kamal. You can call me Mr. Saiful. Okay, and my area of expertise is in tourism. Okay, I am a senior lecturer from University Technology Mara, Penang branch, or short form UITM Penang. And I have been working, I have been attached with UITM Penang since 2004, and have been working with UITM since the year 2000. Okay, so basically that's a little bit about myself. Okay. And for this particular session, I will be supported by a few important people. Okay, one of the important people is Mr. Josri Muhammad Sabar, who is the co-chairperson. Okay, Mr. Josri will take over the chair duty after presentation number 4. And besides that, we also have Muhammad Sheikh Saad, I think he's here, and Muhammad Faizal, okay, as the technical support team. Okay, and we also have two respectable jurists. Okay, Dr. Derwina Bah Simpong, okay, and Mr. Fizrin Ahmad as the two respectable jurists. Okay, okay, and we also have for this particular session we have 6 presenters. Okay, 6 presenters. I will introduce all the presenters. Okay, the first presenter is me myself, Saiful Bari bin Muhammad Kamal, okay, from UITM Penang. Generally, my topic of presentation will be the shift of travel behavior affected by COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, and then next we have presenter number 2, supposedly Chong Yuen On. Okay, but I think he is unable to make it. Okay, will be replaced by Miss Xiao Aina. Okay, I think Miss Xiao Aina is already here. Okay, welcome to the session. Okay, and I think from University Tunku Abdul Rahman, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, and the topic of presentation will be how technology is revolutionizing travel experience, a smart tourism perspective. Okay, presenter number 3 will be from Thailand. Okay, international presenter, Mr. Narudom Oksue. I'm not sure if I pronounce your name right. I hope I pronounced it right. Okay, all right. You are from NIDA, National Institute of Development Administration. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so the topic of presentation will be enhancing employee engagement of travel agencies after COVID-19 pandemic, conceptual framework. Okay, presenter number 4 will be my colleague, okay, Mr. Josri Muhammad Sabar, okay, who is already here, and from UITM Penang, my colleague. Okay, the topic of presentation will be online booking intention at Langkawi Hotel and Resorts, the influence of word of mouth and online reviews. Presenter number 5 will be another of my colleague, Mr. Rashid Saleh, who is already here. Okay, from UITM Penang. Okay, the topic of presentation will be evaluating tourist intention towards future smart tourism technologies in Malaysia. Okay, and the last presenter, okay, Mr. Amir Nur Shahiran, I think from UITM as well. Okay, the topic of presentation, domestic tourist intention to use e-hailing service during COVID-19 pandemic in Kuching, Sarawak. Okay, so those are the presenters. Okay, a few reminders before we begin the session. Okay, actually the time allocation for each presentation will be 10 minutes. Okay, but I think since we have 3 hours for 6 presentation, I think we can still spare maybe from 2 to 3 minutes presentation for each presenter, and maybe in between 12 to 13 minutes presentation. What I'll do is after 10 minutes, I will remind the presenter that you have another 3 minutes to wrap up the presentation. And after the 13 minutes, maybe we stop the presentation. And I really encourage all the presenters to open their camera. Okay, we want to see your facial expression when you present. We want to see your body language. We want to feel your presentation. So, nevertheless, it is not a requirement. So, and for other participant or the audience, they need to mute their microphone, okay, during the presentation, because we do not want any interruption during the presentation. And after the presentation, we will have a short Q&A session. Okay, depends. Okay, maybe 4 to 5 minutes, depends on whether the audience they have questions or not. Okay, another thing that I want to remind is the e-certificate. Okay, the e-certificate will be generated from the system. Okay, after the session ends. Not immediately. I was told maybe 2 to 3 days after the session ends. What the presenters can do, they can log in into the IJCHT website and download the e-certificate. And I was told also there is a feedback form that participant can actually fill in. They only have to scan their QR code, okay, in order to access the form. But where the QR code is available, I'm not very sure. Maybe inside the website. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Okay, and maybe we can have a picture session at the end of the session, and maybe everybody can open their camera to take a snap of picture just for the memories. Okay, I think that's it for the reminders. Okay, I just want to wish all the best to all the presenters. Okay, and so I think without further ado, we can commence our first presentation. Okay, which is me. I am the first presenter. Okay, introduce myself and I present. All right. Hold on. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Assalamualaikum and good morning. Okay. My name is Saiful Bari Muhammad Kamal. So basically, today I will present to you. Actually, this is a conceptual paper. There is no results. Just proposing a framework. Okay. The paper entitled "The Shift of Travel Behavior Affected by COVID-19 Pandemic." This is more pertaining to aviation traveler. Okay, traveling by flight. So without further ado, we will continue to the background. Okay, so basically in 2020, the World Health Organization or WHO have announced that the coronavirus 19 as a pandemic. Okay, when we talk about the pandemic, we are talking about the widespread of virus over wide geographic area, as well as affecting large proportion of a population. So governments, countries around the world have done lots of things in order to retain the widespread of this virus, including the government of Malaysia. Okay, so I'm focusing on Malaysia. Okay, and the Malaysian government has announced 4 A's of MCO, or short form for Movement Control Order, in order to retain the widespread of the virus. Okay, during the pandemic period, we can often hear about passenger from outbreak countries being denied entry into Malaysia. We can often hear about a flight suspension. We hear about a border closure, international border closure. We heard about the quarantine measures. Okay, so basically those are some of the MCOs, standard MCOs being practiced by the government as well as the aviation key players. Okay, so but problem arise. Okay, because of all this cancellation, because of the MCOs practice, because of the changes of the travel itinerary, there is a shift of behavior, okay, within travelers. Okay, we can hear the hesitation of travelers. We can hear about the negative perception of travelers in terms of safety to travel during the pandemic period, in terms of risk of being infected because of traveling during the pandemic period, in terms of trust, whether the service provider, the airlines, are they providing an effective MCO, or are they providing a correct way of running the MCO. There is also an issue of feasibility, whether we can actually travel during the pandemic, because according to the government, yes, we can. Everybody cannot travel, but there are also some exceptions. There are also some special cases. There are also some leniency in certain situations. So because of this, because of the MCO generally, and because of the changes of the behavior, the airline industry is experiencing a hellwire. Okay, generally, major airline in Malaysia, for example, AirAsia, Malaysia Airline, Malindo Air, generally they are experiencing a drastic loss of revenue and profit. They have to initiate a salary cut from 10% up to sometimes 100%, and they have to undergo the process of recovery. Okay, so when we talk about the process of recovery, research need to be done in order to understand the change of behavior of the traveler, as what Border has been indicating, that the process of recovery from pandemic require a research of the shifting travelers' travel behavior. So generally, this is where our proposed research is significant. Okay, it provide contribution where this proposed research can uncover, can analyze the shift of behavior of travelers during the pandemic period. And of course, when airlines got such data, they can use their data to adapt their offers and services to meet the customer changing travel behavior, which I think is very important because they are undergoing the recovery. So this is generally the practical significance. But the proposed research also provide theoretical significance in terms of expanding the theory of planned behavior. Okay, when we talk about the theory of planned behavior, we are talking about the IV subjective norm, perceived behavior control, as well as attitude, and its impact on intention. Okay, intention, in this case, intention to travel. So basically, for our team, we conclude that we need to add another two variables, okay, which is perceived risk and trust. Because I think when we talk about the keyword risk and trust, they are the dominant issue when it comes to traveling during the pandemic. Okay, so by inclusion of this is the conceptual framework. Okay, by inclusion of perceived risk and trust, we can better understand and analyze the changes of behavior of passengers during the COVID-19 period. So basically, within the conceptual framework, as you can see, the three variables proposed by IJCHT within the TPB, or theory of planned behavior, okay, and its impact on intention to travel in this case. And we add another two variables to better understand, okay, the pandemic setting, for the pandemic setting, okay, perceived risk as well as trust. Okay, so now I will explain each of these variables. Okay. All right, subjective norm. Okay, when we talk about subjective norm, it is part of theory of planned behavior. Okay, we are talking about the normative belief. Okay, normally one individual, they have their immediate friends, they have their immediate family members, they have their immediate society around them, and all these people, they have their own thoughts, they have their own perception, they have their own belief, they have their own judgment, and of course, all this will create a social pressure towards the particular individual. Okay, and we propose that all these social pressure or subjective norm will significantly influence the behavior intention of individual to travel during pandemic period. Okay, and going into the next variable, which is perceived behavior control, which is part of TPB as well. Okay, generally when we talk about perceived behavior control, we are talking about the feasibility and restriction, in this case to travel during pandemic period. Okay, of course, like I mentioned previously, there are restriction to travel during the pandemic period, but we also heard about the exception, we also about the leniency. So basically, perception of ease and difficulty to travel during pandemic is rather subjective. Okay, so but it definitely can be used for predicting the behavior attempt of the traveler. So that is why we are proposing that travelers PBC or perceived behavior control will significantly influence behavior intention to travel during pandemic period. Okay. The next variable is attitude. This is rather straightforward variable. Okay, this is generally talk about the favorable or unfavorable of a particular individual towards a certain action. Okay, so basically it reflects the state of mind of a particular individual and is said to have a significant impact on the final behavior. Okay, that is why we propose traveler's attitude will significantly influence behavior intention to travel during pandemic period. Okay, and this is another variable, okay, not within the TPB, but we are proposing the perceived risk. Okay, so this is first introduced by Slovic in 1992. Okay, and when we talk about this variable, we are talking about the feeling of vulnerability. Okay, we are talking about the feeling of severe condition of the pandemic in this case. So basically, those individuals that are feeling vulnerable will develop a self-protection behavior. And those individuals that are feeling severity of the pandemic will also develop a self-protection behavior. So I think in nowadays even the perceived risk issue is still rampant, because we have maybe many of us have been vaccinated, but there are cases where people vaccinated but still infected by COVID-19. And there are also cases where, in Malaysia we have more than 19,000 cases daily. So the perceived of severe condition, I think, is still very much visible. So that is why we propose that travelers' perceived risk will significantly influence behavior intention to travel during pandemic period. Okay, and the last IV is trust. Trust first introduced by Frewer et al. In 1996. Generally, the variable analyze and discuss about the trustworthiness of, in this case, travelers towards the airline, the service provider, or maybe the airport. Okay, it analyze about the reliability towards the service provider. It analyze about in this case, the MCO, whether the MCO provided has integrity. When we talk about integrity, we are talking about having honesty. We are talking about having moral principles towards the traveler, and also looking into whether the MCO provided benefit the traveler. Okay? So we are proposing that traveler trust will significantly influence their intention to travel during pandemic period. Okay, right. Those are the IVs. And the DVs will be intention to travel. Okay, because TPB normally analyze the DV will be intention, whether intention to purchase, intention to travel, or intention to involve in a certain action. Okay, so but the intention itself is the final behavior, okay, the outcome behavior. Because according to Falex in 2016, intention signifies the course of behavior that one proposed to follow. Okay, so basically, in this case, let's say the individual decided to travel, intend to travel. Of course, he or she will buy the ticket, okay, which is a behavior. He or she will go to the airport, which is another behavior, and go to check in. So it is a course of behavior that signifies the intention. Okay, so the final outcome. Okay, all right. And last but not least, methodology. So the proposed research is a quantitative research, okay, and questionnaire will be delivered either online or self-administered, and the population will be Malaysian, okay, because I'm focusing on Malaysia, but the sampling frame will be those who have experienced traveling during pandemic period, okay, either domestically or internationally. So within the questionnaire, there will be filtering whether you are qualified to become our sample or not. Yeah, and the sampling technique will be a simple random sampling, okay, meaning that everybody that already have experience traveling during pandemic will have equal chance of being selected as the sample. And the study intend to contact a range of in between 380 and 400 travelers. This is because according to Jahildos in 2016, for a research which a confidence level of 95% and a margin error of 5, the sample size should be 384 to be exact, for a population more than 50,000. Okay, so I have do some research and try to find out how many people travel during the pandemic. I found that according to Malaysian Aviation Commission, in 2020, which is most of it pandemic period, there are 15.6 million, okay, people actually bought into flight and travel, okay, either domestically or internationally. So basically, we need to have a sample size of 384 to be exact, or maybe more, because the figure is more than 50,000 population. Okay, so for analysis, hypothesis analysis, we will use SEM. We intend to use SEM, particularly the confirmatory factor analysis. So basically, we will do all the convergent validity tests, discriminant validity tests, and so on. Okay, so I think that's it from me. Okay, so okay, thank you for lending me your ears. Thank you for listening. So I open to Q&A session. Okay, any question?
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, Doctor. So I think for me, just one question. What is your, how you want to plan your methodology in terms of questionnaire? Is because nowadays pandemic, right? You using what you call it, Google Forms, or what types of what is your plan basically for the data collections?
Generally, the Google Form is my primary intention because we have a pandemic, the severity of pandemic where we cannot meet each other. But there are certain cases where I might, if I meet people that I can have the opportunity to interview or deliver pass the questionnaire, that I just might do just that. It's just that I think the main problem is getting people who actually have experience traveling during the pandemic. Okay, because there's a lot of restriction and I don't know, even to have them answer the question from their talks, because we tend to have a different talks within different period of time during the pandemic. Sometimes the severity of the pandemic is so severe, people are so afraid to travel. but sometimes even now it's still pandemic. Yesterday we can see so many people going to river, going to. So basically, people thoughts changes over time during the pandemic because it is rather subjective situation over here. It's just that for me to get 384 might need to take quite some time because of the scarce of samples as well as maybe the maybe what I what the what I want to find kesesuaian. Okay, is it sesuai? Is it appropriate? Appropriate to do such data collection during certain part of pandemic period. Okay, especially when the severity of the pandemic is much visible. Okay, okay. I hope I answer your question. Any other question from the audience? Okay, I think if there is no more question, then I think we can move on to presenter number 2. Okay, so for presenter number 2, I would like to invite Miss Xiao Aina, okay, to present the paper entitled "How Technology is Revolutionizing Travel Experience: A Smart Tourism Perspective." So, without further ado, the floor is yours. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Ah,
Yes.
all right, finally. Okay, can you see my screen, the shared screen?
Unfortunately, no. You cannot see.
Oh, your screen is still visible. Click to resume or cancel your, but it is sharing. All right, I'll try again.
Okay. Now we can see your slide.
The entire slide?
Yes, the entire slide.
Okay, all right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Xiao Aina. My apology for the misunderstanding of the name of the presenter. Actually, I am the one that will presenting this conference, but my colleague, Dr. Chung, he was the correspondent author, so therefore there was some misunderstanding over here. All right, so this paper has been written a couple years ago because the pandemic has hit us for 2 years. So actually this is like when we study on this smart tourism, it was like 3 and 4 years ago. Okay, so the data was collected long before the pandemic because we never expect this pandemic is happening. All right, my name is Xiao Aina. I'm from University Tunku Abdul Rahman. We have 2 campuses, one in Sungai Long and another one in Kampa. So I'm the one that from Kampa, where we are surrounded with a very big lake and very nice scenery. So this is my flow of presentations. I'm going to just follow on the format of this requirement. from the conference format. So I'll go with the introductions with the problem statement originality, followed by the method finding and the implications. Right, now what is smart tourism? This refers to the applications of informations and communication technology, mobile communications, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, as well as virtual reality, VR, which is very famous now because we are unable to travel, so we rely a lot on virtual reality. And in developing on these innovative tools and approaches to improve on tourist experience, yeah. So it's also referred to previously physical tourism, but now we are unable to do it, but I'm very sure we are able to overcome this obstacle soon. This involved with the social connections, with this either with the states or organizational resources, and also the tourism supported by an effort in destinations for gathering data from the human mind. So it is very important and to see that if we are using the modern technologies, what will be their experience like? So this study focused on the use of advanced technology to transform data into an efficient new business model by using and evaluating data collected through physical infrastructures and also the social connections. Yeah. Why it came out to be one of these important concept for us to study is because we see that many developing countries, they attempt to improve on this ICT, which is on information and communications technology, on tourism. But some have progressively, they participate in mobile and digital-based economy. When 4 years ago and 3-4 years ago, it was not that advanced. And we can see that these 2 years, because of the pandemic, we rely so much on technology, and therefore we can see that there are more applications now, and we can't live without technology actually. Yeah. So therefore, the smart technology usage can be applied to support tourism activity. This will leave room for advancement in their tourist experience. When we did this, we could not see that there's so much of advancement. For example, now you can see that these 3Ds and 4Ds, and even when we go to a museum, we, apart from seeing the physical artifact or the things that we can see physically, and instead of realizing, like when I was traveling to Europe, we realized so much on the tour guide to explain to us what is happening, and they were telling us about the history, about the place, especially we go for cultural tourism and heritage tourism. But what we can see now is they can play, all right? They can play on the screen, and it is a 3D effect, and you wear on the glass, yeah, you can even see the 4G and 5G coming in. You can feel like you are actually at there. When I was in the Colosseum in Italy, yeah, so imagine you were like watching the beast was fighting. So this is how interesting it is, yeah, when we blend the technology into a tourism. So therefore, in this case, I define a tourism experience as a sensation of being entertained, educated, and also indulged in the vacations environment, of course, with the blend of the technology. So therefore, the expectations has evolved due to the evolutions of tourism transformations and also the advancements of technology. So we could see that the past experience, like what we have used to go for tourism, like we go for shopping, we go and see those beautiful flowers, the scenery, etc. It is no more limited to this, yeah. So therefore, tourists will indulge or they diverge to a new surf where value is co-created based on the smart technology for the tourism industry. So there's quite a fair bit of interesting things to add on now. So in order to search for this creative tourism business model, so there's a need to provide a clear directions to realize on the tourism potential, particularly when we apply on information technology. So what we did was we are using these 4 types of smart technology, which we are so familiar with. The first one is Internet of Things and cloud computing. Let me explain a little bit about how Internet of Things. Of course, what we did was, it was like 3-4 years ago. So of course, today the definitions has been evolved and tourists can enjoy more if they're allowed to travel, like what Dr. Saifu has mentioned on the intentions to travel, right? Yeah. So when it comes to IoT, this refers to internet connectivity, which extend to things like devices, sensors, like everyday items in the physical world. So in this case, the implementations of IoT in tourism industry has they can facilitate the tourists to enable a greater degree of personalizations. Example for hotels, flights, meal, etc. Yeah, for seamless travel as much as for the tourist experience as possible. As for cloud computing, this will refer to the where it is very much emerged to well suited to meet the demand of the broad set of tourism service tools, such as the effective and timely communications between the tourists, the people, the guides, the government agencies, the private agencies, when we go for wellness, etc., and other professionals, such as medical tourism as well. Okay, for mobile communications, is something that we cannot live without it. Actually, we are having it like almost 24 hours. So where the tourists can access information concerning on where are the tourist attractions and what are the hot spots and where they can find food and so on, and the nearby locations to, or as well as get recommendations on the local specialties. As for artificial intelligence, AI-based development, at the forefront of not limiting to individualize on the pricing. I may set on these are the amount of money that I can afford. So what would be my budget like? A reverse of multi-attribute auctioning or recommendations in bundling on the products. And you can see that if we go for online shopping, this AI is so smart, they are able to understand what are your hobbies and what are your priorities. They keep telling you on, okay, now we have something nice and new, which you may be interested. Yeah, so this would be on the semantic web applications and based on also on the mobile applications. So the originality of the studies is the concern of expanding the finding from this intelligent management system, which is based on the 4 types of smart technology over here in tourism industry, is still remain vague, right? So we intend to go and understand and explore even more to get more facts and finding. There are also limited studies covering this phenomenon, because in 2-3-4 years ago, the literature is literally focusing on the smart city development and also tourist attractions and so on, yeah? And therefore, there will be, if we focus on the tourist experience, yeah, there will be sensations of being entertained, like how they, like what I've mentioned just now, they can be educated they can diverge to a new serve where the value is co-created based on the smart technologies. So what we did was we did a quantitative study. Yeah, of course, this study can be expanded to a qualitative as well. The target respondents are the international tourists that they have traveled to Malaysia. And where we gather it, we focus at the various tourist hotspots. You can see all the areas like in Penang, in KL, and where they are going to, like in the Fraser Hill, like in Penang, we even collect data in Malacca as well. So there are a total of 250 usable questionnaires were collected. Of course, we distributed 500, but a lot of the questions was not complete. So we therefore only pick the best 250 usable questionnaire. And data was analyzed using partially square structural equations modeling, and smart PLS software was deployed to run the analysis. Okay. Because initially I thought we only have 10 minutes, so I did not display all this statistical finding over here. But our statistical results stated that Internet of Things, cloud computing, mobile communications, and artificial intelligence were positively related to tourist experience. And the smart technologies, based on AI, give the biggest, largest effect size on tourist experience. Means the AI is the most influential one. So this will follow by the Internet of Things, mobile communications, and cloud computing. So in terms of implications, the study shows that the applications of smart technologies are able to enhance on tourist experience in the aspect of education, entertainment, escapism, as well as aesthetic. This implies that IoT and the rest of these smart technologies are very important to enhance the tourist experience. And also it allows them to be very much educated and explore something new. For practical implications part, we will recommend that the Malaysian government could emphasize on the applications on intelligent management system on tourism event to boost their experience. And also the authority could also increase on these mobile applications related to transport planning, event listing, travel planning, and tour guiding functions. And also tourism industry in Malaysia should also focus on cultivating a smart technology to enhance the tourist experience so as to attract the tourist revisit intention. Okay. And also lastly, the Malaysian tourism industry and government is also to provide more incentive to further encourage the advancements of AI technology for the tourism industry. So in future studies, we recommend that because the data was collected before this COVID and the pandemic, so it may not adequately reflect on the current tourism circumstances. Okay. In this case, if we were to study smart tourism now, we will actually focus on AR, okay, or virtual tourism. Okay. So I invite if any one of you are interested, we can collaborate and do it together. And for future study, of course, the situations of unexpected environment should be considered while forming the research instrument, such as virtual tourism that I mentioned, risk perceptions, like Dr. Saiful has mentioned, trust, and also emotion. I think the emotion part, whether they have a positive or negative emotions, is very important towards the dangers of this getting infected with the disease. And a few work also was done in the urban tourism area. So we are more into urban, not on the village, on the rural area. So in future, we may want to focus on the tourists who have visit the rural area to reach for different findings and insight. So with that, I end my presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Xiao Aina. Okay, a very interesting presentation because smart tourism is a topic very much discussed nowadays. And then, generally speaking, the marriage of technology into the hospitality and tourism will continue to create an outstanding growth and for the industry. Yeah, it's just that because I have experience. Okay, let's say if people are browsing a YouTube and they found this particular video that can bring them around cities in Italy, for example, in Rome, for example.
Right.
And then from that particular YouTube video, which can last up to 2 hours, they can actually gain the experience of going to Rome without leaving their house. So what are your thoughts on this particular three? Some of them have 3D effect, which provide, I think, of course, provide experience. What are your thoughts? Because this indirectly can also affect the tourism industry because people are not traveling anymore. They are relying more and more on the entertainment in their home. So what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, thank you so much for your questions. Yes, but I think you and I will agree that nothing as compared with the physical visit and the experience, the feel, because we have 5 senses, you know. So what we can see is only from the eye. So what we can see from the video is from the eye, but we cannot smell the food. We can hear, yes, but we can't touch and we can't eat. That's the most important part. So if we have actually technology enhance our experience. So for example, like when I was in Italy before that, I actually, because it's a historical country, so I actually browsed through and tried to understand about the history of Italy. So I went to Rome, I went to Venice and all this, and I actually see in what's happening. But when I landed there, the feel is not the same. And of course, yes, I went to the museum. They have also the headset and all this. So you look at the thing with the physical, it is totally different. So I would think that if we blend in technology plus the physical visit, it will actually enhance the experience.
Okay, definitely agree with that because yeah, me myself having experience or just watching YouTube. In the end, I still wanted to go. I still want to go to experience the real experience,
Yes.
rather than just the online experience or maybe the TV experience. Okay. So any other question from the rest of the audience, maybe?
Hello, good morning, Doctor.
Hi, morning.
Just want your thoughts on nowadays that 2020, we already launched national tourism policy, 2020, 2023. So basically, what is your thoughts on smart tourism in that policy?
I think we, Dr. Davina, am I right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think we have so much to improve now because the infrastructure, number one, that we have to cater for the infrastructure and also the tourism planning. Correct me if I'm wrong because I went for another conference last week. Yeah, we were discussing about tourism because tourism is my study, my research area. Actually, I'm focused on health and medical tourism. So we were thinking, you know, how do we position ourselves in terms of tourism? Those days, Malaysia was positioned as a shopping tourism. When we come over to Malaysia, we shop because of the value that we have, and also the scenery, you know, the sun, sea, and surf, and all this. And followed by Malaysia is also very famous for health tourism and medical tourism because we attract almost 70% of our neighboring country. So when it comes to smart tourism, it depends on where we apply to. The first thing we have to focus, how do we target our position in the first place? So I maybe the audience can give me an idea. How do the government should focus into and target? Should we focus into a shopping paradise, or should we target ourselves more into, like, for example, in Thailand? Yeah, I think wellness tourism is very much positioning. Am I right? Yes. So in Singapore, the positioning on tourism is very much on service quality. So in this case, in Malaysia, I think we have to very much focus on cultural tourism, because we really have a lot of beautiful heritage that we can show the world. And we have so much of resources. So once we have fixed that positioning, then I think the smart technology, all this will come along. Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, when we talk about smart tourism in Malaysia setting,
Yes.
one of the issue that we can truly look into is the digital exclusion of a consumer and maybe even tourism provider, because some of them are left behind, because we have so many tourism provider who are a small SME, and where
Yes.
they cannot afford, or maybe they don't have the skill to implement a smart tourism within the premise. So this type of organization will truly left behind and will be neglected, and at the end, left behind, as I mentioned. I think the government should look into those matters, meaning that bringing everybody up again, as the implementation of the smart tourism is being implemented. Okay, make sure that everybody is included. Yeah, I think that's the matter that we should look into.
Yes.
But other than that, of course, we can apply all this positioning.
I think that is the issues that we should take something into consideration for the next research.
Oh,
So how we
really?
want to
Yes.
Yeah,
include
it is there
all.
already.
I would love to invite everyone to join in for the research. In fact, I did a research on small medium enterprises in tourism industry, and we find that more than half of them are actually not well versed in using IT. They still prefer their traditional way. But because of the pandemic, I think a lot of them are forced to use it, because if they don't, they can't reach to the customer. For example, they know how to take order from online, and you can see that from the coffee shops, there are many these Grab foods and Panda food. They are waiting there to get the food packaging and send to customers. So because of the pandemic, they were forced to. So that actually that increased their knowledge in making use of IT to boost their business. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great idea.
Okay. So I think that's it. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Shoaina. Again, once again, I sorry if we mistaken you for
Oh, no problem. No problem.
on
Yeah. Looking forward to see you all again. Thank you.
Definitely. Okay, move on into the next presenter number 3 from Thailand, Narudom Oksue, with the paper entitled Enhancing Employee Engagement of Travel Agencies After COVID-19 Pandemic, a conceptual model. Okay, so without further ado, Mr. Narudom Oksue, the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, my slide is sharing already, or you can see it, sir?
We still cannot see your slide.
Wait a moment. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
สวัสดีครับ Selamat datang. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. co-chair and chairman, co-chair, and ladies and gentlemen, my name is Narudom Oksu. I'm PhD candidate from Graduate School of Tourism Management, NIDA, Thailand. I'm pleased to meet you that I have an honor to co-writing with my advisor for this paper. My advisor, Assistant Professor Dr. Wasida Bunyam Metaporn. Today, I'm proud to present my academic paper on this topic, Enhancing Employee Engagement of Travel Agency Post-COVID-19 Pandemic, a Conceptual Model. And this is the presentation outlines for today that I will present for audience. For the background of study, it's well known that the effect of COVID-19 pandemic consequences has been directly to tourism industry, especially in travel agency and employees. The organization should be decreasing stress of employee from job security and income of them by encouraging and engaging with implication of employee engagement. For the problem statement are the employee decrease engagement and new employees' effectiveness to support travel agency after the COVID-19 pandemic. For the research gap, this study lack of for the research previous, the lack of study antecedents and consequences of employee engagement on travel agency within the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. And for the objective of study, to investigate the major challenging aspects in retaining employee engagement practices on travel agency which impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and to explore conceptual and empirically driven antecedents and consequences of employee engagement concept by proposing the conceptual model. For the outcome, this study provides significant information and guidelines to manage employees and enhance the businesses within personalized action for each employee by implicating employee engagement in a small-scale tourism business as outbound travel agency after the COVID-19 pandemic. The concept of employee engagement is a positive, psychological, behavioral, and interpersonal manifestation that promotes organizational efficiency as person job fit and person organization fit are antecedents with good attitude and behavior. Moreover, leadership skills are effective communication create an organization culture that promotes teamwork in the organization. Besides, the level of employee commitment are arising from personal motivation, so the dedication to work can forecast it in the loyalty. During the COVID-19 pandemic, three strategies to reduce stress and achieve for employee commitment are one, be proactive in communication with employees. Two, target and personalize the message by means to meet their unique needs and preferences. And three, listen, tracking and measuring communication in real time is critical. In addition, the level of employee satisfaction is influenced by leader and co-worker in the authorized empowerment to make decisions and recognizability. More importantly, the organization needs to pay attention to employee satisfaction that combine with all benefit and collaborations from them, which the process in measuring employee satisfaction can be conducted as the leader will listen and respond employee reaction, the current level of employee engagement, feeling with the company, identify the problem areas and detecting problems related to employees' dissatisfaction, and taking action, conduct problem-solving strategy plans to prevent problem recurrence in the future. Based on the analysis of literature review, the authors then propose this conceptual model of enhancing employee engagement for travel agency post-COVID-19 pandemic. So this model outlining factors to drive enhancing employee engagement in travel agency are require significant employee commitment and employee satisfaction. That issue form nearly to critically analyze literature from impact COVID-19 pandemic, which travel agency and workforces. Moreover, employee commitment are consist of 6 factors. 1. Personal motivation. 2. Passion of supporting the organization. 3. Well-managed procedure. 4. Psychological attachment. 5. Commitment in work. And 6. Social normative. As we all know that work from home phenomena is a new normal for workplaces that is a social normative of organizational culture as well as affected directly and indirectly towards employee engagement. Furthermore, employee satisfaction are consist of 5 factors. 1. Job performance. 2. Compensation. 3. Recognition. 4. Empowerment of decision. And 5. Learning new skills. The employee satisfaction is another key element that mediates employee commitment to employee engagement and directly affects on employee engagement, as well as employee engagement are consist of 6 factors. 1. Physical. 2. Cognition. 3. Emotion. 4. Person job fit. 5. Person organization fit. And 6. Organizational culture. The employee engagement due to the fact that employees have good commitment and good satisfactory compensation and prepare for tourism situation returns to normal. From the literature review, the authors then summarize the results and propose these new strategies that we call IJCHT. And the practices employee engagement for the travel agencies. Firstly, I represent incentives, both financial and non-financial, directing and indirecting support by firm. Next, C stands for two-way communications among management and operations. Then R is for employee recognition that they are important a part of business. In addition, O means sharing opportunities for personal training to ensure that they are ready to succeed and grow with the organization. Lastly, C represents culture of organization. And for the implication, the outbound travel agency and small-scale tourism businesses are directly benefit in retaining employees post-COVID-19 through employee engagement practices with enhancing employee satisfaction and commitment to contribute a highly engaged workforce for achieving competitive advantages in this dynamic business world, as well as defining provide support for identifying antecedent and consequence variables of employee engagement, applicability of these variables towards the development of employee engagement practices from the influence of the COVID-19 pandemic. For the future empirical research, the understanding of the antecedents and consequences variables that influence on employee engagement are still needs deeper study to investigate the employees' perception and motivation of work from home during COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the intention to remain with or return to work with the organization in a systematic quantitative approach. And finally, this is the references for our study that we are applied in this study. Lastly, thank you for your attention. I'm PhD candidate at Graduate School of Tourism Management, NIDA, Thailand. Here is my advisor, Assistant Professor Dr. Wasida Bunyan Metaphon. I wish to extend my special thanks to her encouragement, support, and help in carrying out my research as well as this article. We are currently emphasizing research in the area of travel agency. If anyone would like to conduct further research in this field with us, please feel free to contact us in our emails. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. ขอบคุณครับ
Sama-sama. Thank you very much. I don't know how to say you're welcome in Thai. Sorry. So okay, we continue. Okay, generally you talk about travel agents. I think travel agents and travel agencies are very much needed these days because they still offer value for, especially for certain types of travel, luxury travel, corporate travel, even a group travel, because they are renowned, okay, for their expertise and a special business relationship. It's just that during the pandemic period, travel agencies business like other hospitality business experienced a drastic drop in profit and revenue. So it is to me rather interesting to see, to acknowledge how this travel agent recover and re-engage with the industry once again. After the pandemic, so to me it is an interesting sharing of knowledge instead. But I just want your thoughts on the operation of travel agency post pandemic, because we have this all this MCO, movement of control, okay, implemented in Malaysia, implemented in Thailand, I'm sure. So how does this affect the operation, for example, of conducting tours? Now we have MCO where we have social distancing, and how does this affect, for example, when conducting tour or group tour where we need many people to assemble in one place? What will be your thoughts on how does this change the tour operation? How does COVID-19 with its MCO change the tour operation of a travel agency?
MCO.
Okay, a simple question. We have pandemic.
Yes.
Okay, where we have a social distancing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then because of the social distancing, how does it affect tour operation? When travel agency conducting tour, we have so many people gathering together, going from places to places. So how does the conduct of tour be done differently after the pandemic? In your opinion, you think?
Okay. How can we conduct into operation, right?
Yeah, after the pandemic,
After
because
pandemic.
of the MCO.
Okay, sir. In my opinion, for this time, that is a tough situation. And after, we hope after pandemic, we choose the new operation by the technology. Work from home is quite famous now, and efficiency and effectiveness for work with in the tour operation, because the tour operation normally used with the computer, and we contact by the land operator in the overseas by the email. That is the best for after post COVID. But for the, we are concerned in the culture organization too. That's because for the social distancing, then that is a little gap for relation with the human in the department, and sometimes some problem we need to closely talk to each other cannot absorb the feeling by the computer while like a online like when we meeting some discussion in deep for solve them. But for COVID, I think that is quite more online like this. So,
Okay. All right. Okay. Fair enough. Oh, thank you. Maybe other questions from the audience?
yes, please.
Right.
Thank you.
Hello, morning, at least morning. Okay,
Good morning.
thank you, Mr. Noradon. So, just want you to share. Basically, in Malaysia, we have a strategy or policy that been implemented by the government to help tourism Malaysia. So, what is the strategy that been helped to Thailand tourism? Is any strategy that been implemented to help the survival of the Thailand tourism?
Oh,
So how the Thailand tourism survive during this outbreak?
oh, thank
Maybe
you so much.
what?
Thank you for your question. It's quite big for
Maybe
in,
maybe you can share one. So what is one of maybe now is Doctor I just share Aina, so to share about smart tourism, right? So what about in Thailand?
in Thailand, tough situation too for a about the COVID pandemic. Okay, that the governor they try to make the new project, some Phuket sandbox, some in any project follow from like this, and now to reopen the country in a few months. For the strategy to improve, in my opinion, to can be back to normal for the tourism of Thailand. In my opinion, just only my personally speaking, I think okay, the vaccine that is the best way for that we concern that, but for the industry, tourism industry, I think more than that. One, we should the first one that from the my proposed in in this model that we show. I think the communication is the best that the for entrepreneur and employee now, because the supply chain at in the tourism now we are many dynamic, and it too complicated, quite complicated. I think for in this tough situation should be concerning the two-way communications, and concerned with the direction of the organization, and concerned with the roadmap from the governor can contribute all together. I think that is the best way to recovery for the Thailand tourism, because in Thailand tourism at the moment we are not ready for the IT or AI, any items for digital. Just just some part of the country they are ready, but like a center of the country at the Bangkok like this. But in another part, I think not yet at the moment, not ready yet for apply the digital, but they are a part of the supply chain in the tourism industry for ready to be back, and soon to serve in the tourism Thailand industry soon. I think communication is the best. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think the situation is rather the same in Malaysia, where I think you're referring to digital travel agencies like online travel agencies, virtual travel agencies, even the meta search engines. In Malaysia, yeah, even these days we are moving towards a modern tourism distribution era, where we have more and more travel agencies that are online, that have a that are digitalized. We still have so many traditional travel agency that require a passenger to come to the respective travel agency to deal with the travel agency, and these travel agency are left behind, and they are unable to compete with the so-called digitalized travel agency. So in Malaysia also we have so many travel agency that open in May and then shut down maybe in a few months after that. So I think the case is rather the same, but I think it's up to the government in order to, like I mentioned previously within Ms. Nasio presentation, those are left behind need to be brought up front in order for us to grow together. Okay, all right. This is the end of second presentation. So third presentation, sorry. So moving on to the fourth presentation, Mr. Josri Muhammad Sabar. Okay, my colleague, generally the paper entitled Online Booking Intention at Langkawi Hotels and Resort, the Influence of Word of Mouth and Online Reviews. Okay, Mr. Josri, you can proceed when you're ready. After this, you become the chair, yeah? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sagubari, the chairperson. Okay, also my colleagues. Okay, okay. Can you see the slides?
Yes, I can see the slide.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, right. So I'd like to briefly introduce myself. Okay, my name is Josri. Okay, I'm from UiTM, Pro Penang or Penang branch. Okay, I'm colleagues of Mr. Saiful, the chairperson, and also the next presenter, Encik Rashid. And I also know the last presenter, Mr. Amir, okay, one of the students in our college or university previously. Right. Okay, so my topic is about online booking tension at Langkawi Hotels and Resorts. Okay, the influence of word of mouth and online reviews. Okay, don't be mistaken. Okay, this study actually be conducted last year. Okay, if you remember that, there was about 6 months. Okay, after our full lockdown, okay, 100% lockdown. Okay, we were allowed to travel domestically in Malaysia. Okay, for about 6 to 7 months. Okay, if you still remember. Okay, so this study was conducted during that time. Okay, which is the half year of 2020 until the end of 2020. Okay, which is this year we begin to lock down again. Okay, right. So the study was conducted during that time, the end of 2020. Okay, right. Okay, so basically, the area of the study is focusing on the Langkawi Island. Okay, right. So Langkawi Island is located at the north of Malaysia. Okay, right. It consists of 99 islands. Okay, located in Malacca Straits. Okay, one of the top tourist destination domestically and also internationally. Okay, most of Malaysian people like to travel to Langkawi, one of the top destination places. Okay, 30 kilometers from the coast. Okay, and then adjacent to the Thai border. It's a very huge island. Okay, it consists of 47,848 hectares. Okay, or 118,230 acres. It's a very huge island. Okay, located in the north side of Malaysia. Okay. Right. So this is some attraction in Langkawi Island. Okay. Right. So the main attraction, of course, the beaches. Okay, the beaches. This is the list of top beaches in Langkawi. Okay, for example, Pantai Chenang, Kaljuru, Pantai Tengah, Datapi, and so on. Okay, so it's very nice and beautiful beaches. Okay, so the other attraction is the island the island itself, okay, the nearby islands, the small islands, okay. This is the list of the islands. Right, so one of the activities being done or tourist activities during traveling to Langkawi is island hopping. Okay, travel by boat to one island to another island. Okay, because each island they have their own specialty or their own attraction. Okay, so another attraction in Langkawi, because Langkawi is a duty-free zone. Okay, so there's a lot of shopping centers. Okay, and also trade centers in Langkawi. Okay, so most of people come to Langkawi for shoppings. Okay, and the other attractions, okay, of course, sports. Okay, so this is the list of sports. Okay, we can find in Langkawi. Okay, for example, scuba diving, skydiving, horse riding, golf. Okay, all right. Okay, so the other attractions, okay, the nightlife. Okay, there are some places, okay, some tourist attraction focusing on nightlife or night activities. Okay, like beach bars at Pantai Chenang, okay, the Reef Cafe, okay, Yellow Cafe, and others. Okay, so there's night activities in Langkawi. All right. So another attraction is the dining. Okay, because it's located in the island. Of course, one of the attraction of the dining attraction or the food attraction is the seafood. Okay, so many restaurants offers delicious and also interesting and also international foods. Okay, focusly on seafoods. Right. Okay, so dining. Another attraction is nature. Okay, so one of the top nature attraction is the Kilim Geopark and also mangroves and other nature attraction. Okay, like the mountains. Okay, and other agriculture areas. Okay, the other attraction will be, for example, the Sky Bridge. This one is combination of the historical heritage and also modern parks. Okay, like Sky Bridge, Cable Car, Eagle Square, underwater worlds. Right. Okay. So as we can see here, there's a lot of attractions. There's too many attractions. But okay. So in the island itself, okay, there's plenty of hotels. Okay, registered 72 hotels and resorts being registered. Okay, according to Kedah Visitors Directory, the latest one. Okay, and based from the statistic, okay, the average length of stay, okay, between 2007 and 2020, okay, most of the domestic tourists, okay, travel to Langkawi for 2 nights, okay, which is 3 days and 2 nights. Okay, so international tourists average length of stay will be 3 to 5 nights. Okay, right. This is the latest statistic. Okay, from 2007 to 2020. Okay, and the problem is the island is too large. Okay, as we can see from the previous slides. Okay, the attraction is so huge. Okay, the island is so huge, and the attraction is so many. Okay, it's colossal attractions, okay, available in Langkawi. Right. Okay, but the problem is, as you can see, the average length of stay for domestic is 2 nights and 3 to 5 nights for international tourists. Okay, so the tourist has limited time to explore and enjoy all the activities. Right. Okay. So basically, people travel to Langkawi. Okay. Most people prefer to get or to purchase the inclusive tour package, whether they're provided by the travel agencies or some tour package provided by the hotel itself. Okay, some of them like the groups, okay, the travel groups, okay, and also international tourists. So basically, they prefer to go to travel agencies or to get the hotel inclusive tour package. Right. Okay, but there is a need for flexible tour and activities. Okay, because there's so much activities, so much activities being offered, so much attraction. Okay, there's some people who like to travel to Langkawi for their own activities. Okay, all right. For example, there's some people who like to have dining and also shopping only. They're not interested to the beach, night activities, and perhaps maybe not interested in nature attractions. Some people would like to go to the beach and maybe island hopping. but not interested in shopping. Okay, so this is the disadvantage of tour package, which is the tour package will inclusive for everything, and the tourists don't have the to manage their own time. Okay, manage their own time to travel to one places to another places. There must be some attraction that based on their own interest. Okay, right. So online booking was introduced. Okay, not only in other places but also to Langkawi. Okay, so online bookings suits for flexible tourists. Okay, which is they like to manage their own time. Right. For example, for those who focusing or like to go for a sky bridge or cable car, for example. Okay, those attraction will be full before afternoon, during afternoon, and after afternoon. Okay, so whenever the tourists go for a flexible tour, okay, manage their own time, does not attach to any tour package, they can even start queuing from 6 o'clock in the morning, okay, in order to get to go to the cable car or sky bridge. Okay, so online booking is suitable for the guests who like, or for the tourists who like to choose their own time to travel or to choose their attractions. Okay, but the hotels still perform implement advertisement. Okay, to advertisement to encourage online bookings. Okay, one of the reason, okay, based from previous study, okay, the reason for online booking implemented by the hotels, okay, the advantages is they can bypass the travel agencies and other third parties channel. Okay, but whenever hotels start encouraging tourists, okay, to perform online booking, okay, they will create another problem, okay, which is the hotel being exposed to the influencer, okay, exposed to the influencer, which mean in this influencer in this study, okay, we focus on two influencers, okay, which is one is the peers word of mouth, another one is the online review. Okay, all right. So basically the online review, okay, is the current trends of for this in our industry, hospitality and also tourism travels. Okay, all right. So these the examples for the online review. Okay, we can see, okay, whenever before any tourists before they make a booking to any hotels, okay, they can go to the website, okay, to the travel website, and also look into the review, and they can decide. Okay, they can decide whether they would like to choose that hotel or choose another one. Okay, so this one I take it from TripAdvisor. Okay, one of the positive online review. Okay, very one like what the guest said. Okay, wonderful experience in the hotel. Okay, the facilities was very good. Okay, right. This one is very is positive. The example of a positive online review. Another one. Okay, I have another one is the negative online review. Okay, you can see. Okay, there's a problem with the bookings. Okay, and there also a problem with the facilities, and there also problem with the staff. Everything, all the problems the experience for the hotel was stated here. Okay, right. Okay, so in this study, we like to compare, okay, before making a purchase or before making the bookings, okay, which method or which element that people more trust, okay, whether they look into the word of mouth, okay, from their peers, family, friends, and so on, or whether they look into the online reviews, okay, which one is more important, okay, before they make the choose the hotel preference. Okay, all right. So based from this study, okay, I just show a few results. Okay, I don't put all the results here. Okay, just two important results from this study. Okay, so this the type of tourists. Okay, so the data collected from 94% of the domestic tourists and only 6% of international tourists. Okay, So I understand, even though this time is during lockdown, okay, we close our border, but most of international tourists is the tourists stuck in Malaysia, and also the tourists came from another state. Okay, let's say maybe the international tourists be previously from Penang and they go to Langkawi, and maybe another tourist from KL, for example, and then they still have time, they cannot board to the flight, okay, and they went to Langkawi. Okay, we can so from this study we only obtain 6% from the international tourists. Okay, so based from the results, okay, so 0.697, okay, relationship towards the word of mouth, and slightly higher than the online reviews, which is 0.556. Okay, so we can conclude here that the tourists, okay, the attitudes towards online booking intention is more depending towards the word of mouth from their peers as compared to online reviews. Okay, all right. Okay, so from this study we can conclude that, okay, and the behavior from the hotel departure guests highly influence the booking of future guests. Okay, we can see even though people might choose hotels based on their location, close to some attraction or location near to their preference, but both online review and also word of mouth is still important. Okay, and another one is booking intention of future guests are highly dependent on word of mouth than online reviews, especially for domestic tourists. Okay, so many of nations, okay, especially for domestic tourists, okay, they spread to each other, they spread to their peers, to their family, and also their friends. Okay, so they might influence which hotels to choose, okay, rather than depending solely directly to the online reviews. Okay, and we can see also, we are not saying that the online review is not important, okay, because still the result is still positive. Okay, so so the online review can be the important tools for the hotel operators and also managers. Okay, so they can use like the example just now. You can look at the example of online reviews from TripAdvisor. Okay, from the online reviews, okay, the hotel managers and also any hotel operators can analyze, okay, and also as a guideline for improving the service. Okay, and then another one, okay, they give opportunity, okay, after the guest checkout, okay, after the guest departure, okay, they still have at least the online review can be used as the post departure or post purchase relationship with the guests. Okay, right. So the next one, okay. Okay, so the hotel operator should aware that online reviews can influence guests, okay, or tourists, maybe to navigate or to choose another hotels. Okay, because if the review is bad or it's quite negative, okay, so that tends influence the tourists to choose another hotel. Okay, all right. So another one, online reviews can still be monitored, okay, by hotel operators as compared to word of mouth. Okay, so the online review can be monitored, but the word of mouth cannot be controlled. Okay, that's the problem. So that's why we can look into the negative part from the online review, and then we can improve, the hotel operators can improve themselves. But they cannot monitor or manage the word of mouth. So we can see here that the service provided by the hotel cannot be compromised. Okay, so the level of the service must be maintained, and still have to make sure the customer satisfaction, okay, as be the top priority. And the last conclusion will be, okay, from this study we can say that the most people trust recommendation from the people they know, okay, family, friends, peers, and so on. Okay, but still online sources and online reviews is still to be credible in this study. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so thank you for listening. And okay, I'm willing to attend any question from the audience. Thank you very much.
Generally, I don't have any question. Just that my thoughts when you present about online review. I just want your view in terms of this so-called misleading influencer. Now in modern era, we have these people who create video and say negative things about certain aspect, maybe hotel, maybe something else. But the consideration of ethical issues when becoming an influencer. And other than that, we also have issues in terms of abusive influencer. This particular person maybe will go into the internet and only comment negatively on all the sites. Maybe he is a hotel owner wanting to have wanting to yalah, let's say about bad things about the direct competitor. So what are your thoughts on this kind of influencer?
Okay. Thank you for the question. Right. Okay. So I believe that there is similarity in terms of online reviews, which is basically written in the internet, and also the video being uploaded by the negative reviewers. Okay, there is similarities there, which is something that the hotels or the hotel managers can control, which is they can they can make a control measures in that. Okay, which is they can give a feedback, maybe respond. Okay, respond positively, and also maybe make apologizes. Okay, because the all those response still can be monitored and it can be controlled because it's out there. Okay, but based from this study, we can see that the problem is something or the influence that is not cannot be monitored, like word of mouth from friends and also peers. This is very dangerous and it's very important. Okay, as compared to reviewers, but the hotel needs to give feedback and also respond for any negative review. Okay, they will try to encounter it back and then give a response, apologize if the problem is correct. Okay, and then promise make a promise to potential guests or customers or tourists. Okay, and so on. Okay, that's my point of view in terms of the issue that been raised by Saiful just now. Okay, any other question?
Hi, Mr. Josri.
Yeah, Dr. Sil.
I have a questions here. First of all, I would like to compliment a very nice slides of presentation. So I feel like I've just been to Langkawi and come back. So actually, I was in Langkawi like before the pandemic. Yeah. So I realized that actually a lot of things can be improved, right? Like the infrastructure. For example, if I stay in quite far away from the main shopping area, so I find it very difficult for me to reach there. I have to call a cab or I have to walk there. So perhaps that is also a very important issue to look into it. Yeah. So when the questions why that interests me is when you talk about word of mouth and online review, is online review a form of electronic word of mouth as well?
Okay, there's a different studies on we call it word of mouth.
Yes.
Okay, e-worm or word of mouth consists of it's more broad. Okay, for example, it consists of not only the reviews from the travel websites, which is, for example, just now we have the TripAdvisor websites. It can also consist from the YouTube, and so word of mouth also consists of Facebook reviewer and others and other. I think we can explore for another study for that particular topic. Okay, because we consider e-word of mouth, we consider all other types of social media that can contribute to online reviews. Okay, but in this study we focus on online review from the official travel website only.
So in this case, the word of mouth will be the
traditional word of mouth.
recommendation of traditional only. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. So. Okay, if there's no other question, okay, I'm going to relieve Mr. Saiful as a chairperson, in this session in this room. Okay, I would like before okay, so I think it's better for us to proceed for the next presenter. Okay, Mr. Rashid Saleh. Okay, so the topic will be evaluating tourist intention toward future smart tourism technologies in Malaysia. Okay, you may proceed, Encik Saleh. Encik Rashid.
It's okay. Okay, thank you very much, our chairperson. Okay, I will try to share the screen first. Yeah. Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes, we can see your slide.
Okay. Thank you to our chairpersons. Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. My name is Rashid Saleh. I am from the Faculties of Hotel and Tourism Management, which is situated in UiTM Permata Angkau. As the chairpersons will be my colleague. Okay, today I would like to present on my research, which is evaluating a tourist intention toward the future smart tourism technologies in Malaysia. Okay, this is my framework for my presentation today. Before we go deep into the research paper, let we watch the video first. Okay, this is the video. It is interesting. For me, I believe that maybe some of you already know this technology, but I also believe that some of us actually just know this technology from the video, including me. Actually, I myself is not knowing about this technology. After I doing this research, then I know about this technology. So this is the smart technology actually being used in our smart tourism industry. The technologies such as augmented reality, virtual reality, robotics, AI, and fintechs will be integrated in our tourism industry. Okay, unfortunately, the world has been invaded by the deadly pandemic, which is the COVID-19. In Malaysia itself, the case was started on January 25, as see in the Reuters newspaper here, which we have the 3 cases on the coronavirus. And then sadly, and very sadly, the COVID cases has rose up rapidly in Malaysia. Earlier this year, and then yesterday, okay, 12th of September 2021, 21, our cases goes up to 19K. So it is very sad for our country and also for the industry. This pandemic actually not targeting the human being. It also harmed the economy and the industry that have been very drastically become the victims of this pandemic will be the tourism industry. And as the highlighted in this article, okay, the tourism industry actually contribute the third biggest contributor for the Malaysian revenue. And sadly, the revenue has plunged to 80%, which it's dropped from 66 billion ringgit to only 12 billion ringgit. So this situation actually is a bad economic financial for Malaysia. And then some of the operator also impacts from these pandemics. For example, the star in this slide showing that many of the tourism attraction have been closed up, and until now, September 2021, most of the parks still cannot be operated due to the movement control order and etc. in Malaysia. And sadly, some of them already being put to sleep forever. So to take an initiative, some of the tourism operator put some initiative to their business model. For example, the study done by the Lao, he interviewed the director and the GM of the hotel in China after the COVID-19. They all of them agree to integrate AI and robot to their hotel and operation to help to mitigate with the impacts of the pandemics, to reduce the numbers of person involved in the service, and also to help increase the secure feel to the customer while they're staying in the hotel. So besides that, Malaysia also taking an advantage by launching the Smart Tourism 4.0, which is something good, which is initiative done by the government and the tourism ministry in order to help the affected tourism operator to operate in this pandemic era. And I believe that it's not only from the pandemic era, but it also for the futures of our tourism industry. Okay, the initiative that shown by the tourism industry actually will help a little bit to our tour operator itself to survive in their business. Okay, the best thing is one travel agency, which is a Thomas Cook Group, which is a famous around the world, which is situated, if I'm not mistaken, will be on the Britons. They introduced the VR experience in their package where it try before your sorry. Try before your flight campaigns. It show the increase of sale of 190% for people to book the ticket flight to the New York cities for tour. So this is the positive of technology that been introduced to improve the sales and also the industry itself. Okay. Along this line, this study is actually fascinating to know the tourist intention to use the smart tourism, such as the VR, AR, II, robotic, fintech, and etc., that already being implemented in the Malaysia and also soon to be implemented in the Malaysia. Because some of the technology actually have been introduced. For example, the fin technology, which is a financial technology. Nowadays, we not only we not using any cash anymore. Most of the payment made will be through the internet or IoT, as been stated by Dr. Aina earlier, IoT, and also most of the payment also can be made through our handphones. So that is a very very positive, actually positive technology that being used in Malaysia currently. But in Malaysia, technology such as AR, VI actually is robotic, especially robotic, is very rare. It's very, very rare to find that our tourism operator using this type of technology. So this study would like to know either the customer itself are willing to use this technology. Okay, on the LR slide, this is the definitions of what the smart tourism technology that been discussed in this paper. For example, our AR, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, financials, and robotics. But the robotic itself have two type, which is we know the robotic actually have been used in the industrial far more before this. But in the service industry, the robotic is not very famous. I can say not very famous because we can see that most of the service industry in this world doesn't use a robotic in their operations. The pandemic actually opened the eyes of the service industry and especially for the tourism industry itself to start thinking of using this robotic technology in their operations. Okay, beside that, the model being used for my research will be a IJCHT model from the Vanquish, which is the expansions of the TAM model that is being said by our first chairperson, which is Cik Saiful. So this is the expansion with this IJCHT. We study the same thing, which is we want to know the intentions, but the model came with some of the many constructs in order to study more on the technology. From my readings, I can say that most of the new technology that being introduced to the industry use this model to evaluate the intentions. In my paper, I will list down some of the paper that using the IJCHT model to investigate the intentions of the user. Okay, this is the definitions. I believe some of you who are familiar with the TAM model, IJCHT model will know the definitions of this variable. I think I can proceed. Okay, and then this is a methodology side. Okay, this is the summaries of what I'm doing in my research. For example, there will be the population will be 21 millions of Malaysian based on the Department of Statistics Malaysia, but the data is from 2018 to 2019. I don't get it the latest 2022 punya population, so I just use the data from the previous one, which I think is still okay because plus minus we can add 1 million or 1 million Malaysian only, so maybe 30 or less than that lah. From the population, we can sample 384. I'm using the very common Critchy and Morgan sampling table. We get the sample of 384, and then of course I'm using the convenience samplings because this study done using the media, social, and email. Due to the MCO, due to the COVID, people cannot go around and distribute the questionnaire. So we use the electronic media to help us in distribute and collecting our survey. The response rate, I get it, which is 80% of total 384, but I only use 235 survey because some of them is not fulfill the criteria. So that means after filtering some of the questionnaire and surveys, I only use 235. We only use 235 in our study to analyze the data. Okay, there will be 8 constructs following the IJCHT model, and then of course I using the 5 Likert scales to look into the answers for each of the constructs and question being used. Okay, this is the reliability analysis for my study. Most of the majorities of the construct which have a decent value of reliabilities, except for the anxieties and facilitating conditions. Why? Actually, if we look into the definition of anxiety and the facilitating conditions, these two items not showing decent value because all my respondent actually technology literatures. They know how to use the technology. They know about the technology. They have the ideas about the technology. So the anxiety and facilitating continuation cannot give any a strong indications, a strong reliabilities for that. So that's why the value is not so high, but the items still can be used because the model itself I take from the study from the Vincash. So the question just being tailored that it fit the current situations. That's all. Okay, this is the result and discussion section whereby this is the table of Spearman correlation for my correlation analysis. This is the summaries of the result. So if you can see here, there will be all of them have the relationship with the positive relationship with the intentions, but only one which is have a weak positive. The others will have a we call it is acceptable relationship with the intention. That we can conclude that the customer itself have the intention to use the smart tourism as discussed earlier. For example, the fintechs, the AI, VR, and etc. Okay, in conclusion, the smart tourism technology in Malaysia will become something that being expected by the customer. This is based on my result. Okay, many of the customers feel that their tourism operator need to infuse this technology in their company. By providing this kind of technology, the tourism operator may attract new customers to purchase their service and package in the future. While we are waiting for the pandemic to be cured, the tourism operator itself need to propose a new tourism package that suit the current situation to survive the economic downfall. As stated earlier, from the new the solutions like introducing of VR actually will increase the sales. That's done before the COVID. The Tungkuk groups actually done the VR experience before the COVID. So in Malaysia, this technology not being proposed yet. If we propose now, I think that will be the best technology actually to propose now. If our the current situation will suit the technology very well. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much. So I open the room for the Q&A and I pass to the chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Encik Rashid, for your very innovative and also mind-blowing presentation and also topics. Okay, which is I think it's very new to our country about the AI technologies and also smart tourism to our country, which is most people still prefer conventional methods of tourism. Okay, just one question for me. Based from your research and also your reading, can you share the successful approach using this technology in other places or other countries has been successfully done with this technology?
China, as I stated in the slide earlier, for example, the Britain, the Cook company, the Cook Group company, which is the travel biggest, I think the biggest tourist operator in Britain, they successful, they successful introduce the VR to the customer and increase their sales drastically. Beside that, the China also do the same thing. Many of the China hotels nowadays using technology in their restaurant, in the hotels. For example, they provide the robotic to become the server, and also they provide the automatic check-in system in their hotels, and then from my searchings in the internet, that what I see lah. As I said earlier, I also actually not aware of the technology until I do the research. So this is very something new for me. Actually, it's very something new for me. But before this, I never know that the phone itself can do such an amazing thing, such as the video I provided in my slide. So that's all what I know lah, Mr. Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much, Encik Rashid. Okay, any other question from the audience?
I think the one video that I see, even robotic doing the cooking inside a restaurant. But when I watched the video, I was thinking what will happen to the employment. Maybe that's why it is rather slow in our country. Maybe we are considering the employment that robotics can affect, because the employment itself, many of our graduates are struggling to find jobs, and if we introduce robotic into restaurant, into all the hospitality premises, so it can affect more. I don't know, maybe it's just my thoughts. Okay.
Actually, Encik Saiful, I want to add, my further reading on this topic actually bring me to some of the interesting new job. Actually, this technology actually created new job, which is we never heard of it before this, but it creating a new job. For example, in the hotel industry itself, beside we have the very formal and conventional the structures of our hotel, we can add a new lines of job, such as people who control the robots, people who give opinion to the robot, give the AI to work, give the info to the AI, and etc. I'm sorry, I'm not down all the titles of the job, but I can get that in the internet, that there is opportunities of a new job for this technology actually.
Yeah, yes. I agree very much with Encik Rashid. Very interesting sharing. In fact, the VR and AR has been introducing to our country for a few years already, but the cost involved actually limit us to expand further. But while looking at your presentation, I suddenly come into my mind, because our focus is very much on technology, eventually there will be a reverse, why people come to Malaysia? Because of our hospitality, we sambung-sambung, we salam-salam. I think that touch, personal touch, it cannot replace by robots and all this. Of course, it's very good, to see the other side of the advancement. But the tradition, nothing can be replaced by the traditional kind of personal touch.
I do agree.
I think even the
next time kita buat comparison, the modern and the traditional one.
To me personally, I would rather eat food cooked by chef renowned chef and renowned robot.
Yes, because the cooking is controlled, you know, how many the ingredient, but then the chef is flexible. They are able to adjust to your taste and your preference. Yeah,
Right.
agree.
I agree with that. I also rather eat from the chef, not from the robot.
Especially Malaysia, we are
correct.
food heaven. Okay, thank you so much.
Campak teknik.
Ya, betul. Our agak-agak teknik.
Agak-agak teknik, sorry, agak-agak teknik.
Actually, there's one issue that I want to raise for both since Rashid and Aina Xiao, since both of you are talking about smart tourism.
Yes.
The people's acceptance. I give example, for example, Penang. Penang, yeah, we're trying to convert Penang, Georgetown into smart tourism. But I think so far that the most visible smart that I can see is smart parking. Okay, but last time there is an effort by the local government to provide a smart bicycle, if I'm not mistaken. But it's been rejected by people. There's so many, they give so many excuses. We're not ready. It will just jeopardize the traffic. And so, what are your views on this? The people's acceptance of this smart tourism, because we are moving into the smart tourism era, and still people are still rejecting the technology.
I think if we talk about the rejecting the technology, I believe that in the TAM model subjective norm, as you presented earlier, the people around us actually is not ready. It's not we are, some of us actually know about the technology, but many of us in Malaysia especially still doesn't know about this technology. Doesn't know the positive impact of the technology. They don't even try to accept the technology first, and they don't even try to look into the technology first. They just what we call become the PhD of Google. They Google all the impact in the internet, and they conclude. So I think there's a problem lah. There's a problem in Malaysia. We get a lot of we call expert Google, expert
Negative influencer, like what Mr. Josri presented.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. But I think the level of readiness is a very good area for us to study, because when we do our multi-group analysis, we have to see what kind of tourists are we expecting? Are we expecting the millennial or the senior tourists? You know, like for myself, it's not very young, so I'm like in between. So if you move me to a very advanced technology, unless I bring my kids around, you know, then I feel safe. Like for example, I go to China, you know, so sampai facial recognition and all this, you know. So, and I cannot buy things using cash. So I have to use my device and all this. So I got to learn. So that will come to the anxiety part already, you know, which
that's correct.
just now your study is not significantly related at this moment. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because in my opinion, because someone who study online reservation during my students' time, about 15 years ago, using TAR model for online reservation, it's not being accepted 15 years ago. 15 years ago, people still not ready for online hotel reservation. Okay, there's websites but people don't use. Okay, that's why for the last 15 years we study TAR model for online hotel online booking, but it's already accepted now. Okay, after 10 years, it takes about 10 years. 10 years after website being introduced for online booking, it takes about in a hotel reservation itself, it takes about 10 years for people can accept online booking. So in my opinion, smart tourism will be accepted one day.
Because of the pandemic, I think everything will be speed up. You know, no need 10 years now. 10 months by force, no choice. Within 10 months, have to adopt and adapt now. Well,
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree with you.
Talking about Dr. Saiful about the bicycle, because our university at campus there, because it's a very, very beautiful scenery. We are surrounded by a very big lake because of the former tin mine area. So actually, we have collaborate with external party on the bicycle, where they are putting hundreds of bicycle there for the students to cycling from one destination to another because it's quite a big campus. But the project was not successful. Somehow the student will buy their own bicycle instead of renting one. I think in future it may not be that successful also because of the pandemic. So there will be a more SOP, because you are using the public transport.
Yeah. I think it will take time because last time also purchasing online also people are rejecting. They're afraid that the money won't go through their
Yes.
like that. But now everybody shopping online. So okay lah, that's it.
99 sale.
Good sharing.
11.
It's very good sharing and very good discussion from this topic. Okay, thank you so much, Encik Rashid, for your very interesting presentation. Okay, and very good discussion from the audience. Okay, okay, so I think we may proceed to our last presenter. Okay, may I invite Mr. Amir Nur Shahiran, okay, to present on his topic. Okay, the domestic tourist intention to use e-hailing service during COVID-19 pandemic in Kuching, Sarawak. You may proceed, Encik Amir.
Thank you, Mr. Josui. I'll present my screen. Is my slide available?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and good morning to the panels, Dr. Dewana and Mr. Fizri Ahmad, to the chairperson, Mr. Saiful, and co-chairperson, Mr. Josui, and the fellow presenters in this conference. My name is Amir Shahiran, and I will be presenting research titled Domestic Tourist Intention to Use E-Hailing Service During the COVID-19 Pandemic in Kuching, Sarawak. For the introduction, e-hailing is a service that consists of requesting a mode of transportation via an online application on the customer's mobile phone. By using the application, customers can determine their pick-up location and drop-off destination. And e-hailing is an online transportation network that dominates the public transportation market. E-hailing companies do not own their vehicles for this service, however, the drivers own their cars. The emergence of e-hailing has significantly benefited the tourism industry worldwide, and e-hailing has become a component of the transportation network in Malaysia, relieving the pressure from traditional public transit modes. However, the COVID-19 pandemic reduced the usage of e-hailing to avoid contact with the e-hailing driver. This entails carrying no more than one passenger per journey, regardless of the vehicle capacity. Thus, the purpose of this paper is to empirically examine the antecedents of TAM model, social influence, safety and security towards the use of e-hailing during the COVID-19 pandemic. Moving on to the problem statement. Despite most research conducted on service intention to use e-hailing based on customers' perception, there is a limited research based on domestic tourist perception to use e-hailing service during the COVID-19 pandemic. Malaysian authorities have agreed to implement a Movement Control Order MCO beginning March 18, 2020 to halt the country's spread of COVID-19 pandemic. With the government rule for the Movement of Control Order, 2 persons including the driver are permitted per car. The pandemic has changed and altered the transportation system and tourism industry in Malaysia. Therefore, this study suggests researching that matter because this will help e-hailing service providers to understand and identify the problem that domestic tourists have experienced using e-hailing before and how service providers can address these problems. Moving on to the research objectives. The research objectives consist of 3 independent variables, where number 1 is to determine the relationship between TAM model determinants towards tourist intention to use e-hailing service during the COVID-19 pandemic. Number 2 is to determine the relationship between the social influence of e-hailing application towards tourist intention to use e-hailing service during COVID-19 pandemic. And number 3 is to determine the relationship between the safety and security level towards tourist intention to use e-hailing service during COVID-19 pandemic. For the significance of the research, there are two significant use for this research, which is the theoretical significance and the practical significance. There are 3 points in the theoretical significance, which the results of this study have a considerable impact on the body of knowledge, given only a limited number of research have been conducted, particularly in Malaysia. Next, the primary theoretical implication of this study is that the relationship between perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, social influence, safety, and security regarding the use of e-hailing service during the COVID-19 pandemic has not been studied in this country previously. Thus, the present findings have the capability to make a significant contribution. For the practical significance, there are 4 primary goals. Number 1 is to expand the body of knowledge on the use of e-hailing. Number 2 is to provide benefits not only for tourists, but also for the service providers. The third goal is to provide better understanding of the tourist behavior pertaining to use e-hailing services to the service provider during the COVID-19 pandemic. And finally, the last goal is to educate and inform service provider for service improvement to be enhanced during the COVID-19 pandemic. Moving on to the literature review. For the overview of the e-hailing service, researchers recognized as an e-hailing service as ordering a method of transportation by using an application on the customer's mobile phone, and it is an alternative to taxi and other public transport. For the subsequent literature review, which is location-based services, the location-based services were operated by providing relevant information of the product or services needed at hand to users. And this is the specialty that online applications have that other public transportation doesn't. Moving to the technology acceptance model, the TAM model, the 2 important determinants used from the technology acceptance, which is perceived ease of use and perceived usefulness. For the social influence, social media is a heavily used platform where online content creators can create content and share them online, and is an online platform that has allowed companies to interact with their users to understand customers' past experiences when using the e-hailing service. The final literature review. For the safety and security level, trust relates to user safety and security in e-hailing service because consumers need to have a good service experience with the service provider. And e-hailing organizations need to initiate appropriate rules and regulations to ensure drivers and passengers' safety and security. For the methodology for this research, in this research design, the researcher has chosen Kuching City as the targeted study, where the unit of analysis is the tourists who have visited Kuching City. The population chosen is domestic tourists in Kuching City. The sampling used is simple random sampling and snowball sampling. And the sample size is based on Craigie and Morgan table, 384%. The data was collected from an online Google form, which is distributed through the WhatsApp and Facebook. However, we have recorded only 110 questionnaire respondents. The information was then analyzed using this Smart PLS system by my research supervisor and her team. And the data were then examined utilizing path analysis involving partial least squares. For the findings, the research objectives are based on the 3 independent variables, which are to determine the effect of between the TAM determinants, social influence, safety and security level, and the intention to use e-hailing service. For the research questions, the questions is to find the effect between the 3 independent variables, which are the TAM determinants, social influence, and safety and security level, and the intention to use e-hailing service. The hypothesis shown that there is a positive effect between the three independent variables, which are time determinants, social influence, and safety and security level, and the intention to use e-hailing service. According to the findings, we can see that the supported term on intention to use is beta equals to 0.868, T value equals to 45.7, and P value equals to 0.000. And for the social influence, supported social influence on intention to use is beta equals to 0.541, T value equals to 14.358, and P value equals to 0.000. And the supported safety and security level on intention to visit, beta equals to 0.160, T equals to 4.140, and P equals to 0.000. For the overall conclusion, this study has proven that the tourist intention to use e-hailing in Kuching, Sarawak. In the study findings, the researchers discovered that perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, social influence, safety and security level are significant predictors of domestic tourist intention to use e-hailing services in Malaysia. The findings had significant practical implications for tourist provider, government agencies, and local communities. For recommendation for future study is to increase the sample size for more involvement and more accurate data, and to expand the study scope to larger cities or states such as Kuala Lumpur or Pulau Pinang. Furthermore, conducting this research using qualitative and quantitative method, since this research was performed using quantitative method, by using both ways might have a higher chance for more accurate data. The final recommendation is by having respondents from foreign countries inquire about perspectives from the foreign tourists. Thank you for listening to this presentation.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, Jamin or Shagran. Right. Okay, so it's common nowadays, okay, for e-hailing service, okay, not only in Kuching but all of the, in fact, not only Malaysia or all of the other world. Okay, do you have any comparison, those people in Kuching, okay, whether they prefer e-hailing service or still the traditional methods, calling a cab, a taxi? Okay, do you have any comparison between these two?
I don't have proof data, but I can see that the people in Kuching, they are more leaning towards to driving on their own or e-hailing.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, audience, do you have any question for Cik Amel or presenter?
I think referring to what Mr. Josri was talking about is the compatibility factor. Maybe you want to add another variable in the future lah, maybe recommendation in the future, because without the compatibility factor, we do not know whether the particular passenger really want to take e-hailing or they have other optional. For example, the one that I read previously, the study was in Kuala Lumpur. But the study found that many people in Klang Valley and KL prefer rail transportation as an own car as compared to e-hailing. But he's managed to prove that with the inclusion of the compatibility factor. So I think that is another recommendation lah, maybe in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, any question from the floor? Okay, so we can conclude all the presentation, okay, for today's or in this room session. Okay, it's very interesting, especially the various of topics, okay, all related to technologies in travel, tourism, and also travel industries, especially in Malaysia and also in Thailand. Okay, right. Okay, so I think we can end this session. Okay,
Wait,
any
Mr. Josri,
Yeah.
picture taking.
all right. Okay, is there, okay, before proceed with the picture taking, okay, is there any message from the organizing committee?
From me, I would like to say thank you to all the presenters. Mr. Aina Xiao, Xiao Aina, sorry, Xiao Aina, Nurudum Osuke, Mr. Josri,
Just
Mr.
call me
Josri.
Aina will do.
Sorry. Okay, so maybe, yeah, we can meet again later, maybe in another conference. Okay, but all the best in future undertaking lah. That's it from me. Okay, maybe from other committee, want to say anything?
Okay, I think we can switch on our camera. Okay.
Hold on, hold on. I want. Okay. Yeah, that's one. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. I will email each presenter the image. Okay. So thank you. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Josri.
Okay, so thank you for all the presenters and also all the audience. Okay, thank you also for the